Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to show you how to repair a buddy heater that's not working. A buddy heater is a little electric heater, blows warm air, and we use them quite a bit here in Alaska. People put them in their cars, especially though they get used in the aviation industry. People stuff them inside their cowlings to preheat an engine, or put them in the interior of the aircraft to preheat the instruments on those cold days. And it's about the best of this type of unit that we've found. There's a lot of junk out there that you wouldn't want to put in your airplane. It feels pretty dumb when you catch $1 million airplane on fire with a $100 heater. And we've had good luck with these. They haven't caught anything on fire yet, to my knowledge. Used quite a few of them. They do have one problem though, and that is that eventually it will just blow cold air. It'll still be blowing air, but the air won't be warm. You'll plug it in, the fan will blow, but the air coming out won't be warm at all. And I'm going to show you today how to fix that issue. The stuff I'm going to use for this repair is a good soldering iron. Don't attempt this with something that's not decent. A pair of nippers, solder, rosin core solder, and a thermal fuse is the part you'll need to do this repair. And I've looked inside the unit and seen what they use and went ahead and located that part. So we're not re-engineering anything here. We're putting back what was already there. And I'll go ahead and link you to that part. It costs less than $1. We're going to use some flux paste, something to take the screws in and out on the unit, and a little flathead. Okay, let's get into it and see why it's not working. I'm going to start by taking the front cover off here. Ooh. Got a perfect size rock inside that screw hole, of course. And it has these square Robinson bits because Canadian. So now I'm taking off the front cover, and I took one screw off the back cover so that I could slide the top cover off. And inside you'll see, here's the fan, here's the heating element, and right here is, inside there, kind of tucked in its own little spot, there's a thermal fuse, and that protects the whole unit from any kind of overheat hazard. The problem that I've seen with them is that these thermal fuses are actually brittle too. So usually the unit hasn't overheated, it's just been dropped hard, and this thermal fuse inside has blown. And I'll show you how you can test that to get a 100% diagnosis on that. You can take a multimeter and set it to ohms and clip your leads on both sides of that thermal fuse. You'll see about 60 ohms if that fuse is blown, and that's because the resistance my meter is reading right now is backfeeding through the heating coil. So 60 ohms is just the resistance of the heating coil. If that fuse was good, we would see a reading of essentially 0 ohms. Okay, so let's get into how to replace that thermal fuse. to start by clipping out the old one. It's kind of tucked away in there, but you can get to it. I'm going to clip one side and then bend it out the other side. And clip that out. There's the old one. I pulled the information off this thermal fuse and went ahead and found an exact same fuse, and that way we know we're getting the same protection that was there originally. I'm not trying to re-engineer anything. So the old fuse was held in by some brass pop rivets, and the new fuse we're going to go ahead and solder it in. The old fuse was mounted under this little cardboard sheet, and just for convenience, ease of soldering, I'm going to mount this up on top of the cardboard sheet, and we're going to solder it to those little brass pop rivets. I'm starting by putting some rosin paste, some flux onto those brass rivets. That's going to help our solder flow out, gives us a clean surface to solder to. This is a little bit of a tricky soldering job, so we're going to need all the help we can get. First thing is to set your soldering iron as high as it'll go. I've got mine at about 900 degrees Fahrenheit. And the second thing is to use a thermal heat sink. So this fuse, it blows at 141 degrees Celsius. I'm not going to do the math, but just know that if you apply the full heat of your soldering iron to it, it is going to blow. And to prevent that, I'm using the hemostats both as a clamp and as a thermal heat sink. Okay, so I've got that laid in there, and I'm gonna clamp it with the hemostats where I want it to be. It's a little bit of an awkward space, but if you keep fiddling around with it, you'll get it where you want it. Okay, there we go. All right, and since the soldering iron is cranked up so high, I shouldn't have to stay on the part very long, and therefore I won't transmit very much heat to it. What we're looking for is to see the solder flow out onto that pop rivet head. There it is. Don't stay on it any longer than you need, and also try to have a bit of patience and leave your hemostats on there for 30 seconds or so after you're done soldering so that heat can dissipate. I've overheated at least a couple of these, getting in a rush. All right, now I'm flipping it around and going to do the same process on the other side. Other side is also a little bit awkward to get the hemostat clamp on. But just make sure the hemostat is between the thermal fuse and your soldering iron. Okay, got it. See what I did there? All right. All right, it flowed out. Same deal. Clip the tail, Leave the heatsink on there for a second. If you find that you're having trouble with this soldering, because it is a more difficult soldering just because the access to it is awkward, what you can do is actually you can take this unit apart further and you can actually remove this heating element from this sheet metal enclosure by unbending some tabs on the bottom and prying it apart. I've done that and it does get you better access. It's pretty annoying though, so I have come to prefer doing it this way. Alright, now that that's done, we can see if this repair worked by putting our meter back on it. And 0.2 ohms, that is essentially 0 ohms, and that means that that was a success. And we can go ahead and put the unit back together. To do that, I'm gonna make sure these tabs are engaged on the sides. Really is a pretty well built little unit. Okay, I'm gonna look down here and see if I got the tabs in. Looks good. Alright, now I will plug it in and try it. Yep, got it fixed. That's how you do it.